Here we go. Here we go. Now, this is a topic that I care about. There's only one way to settle this debate. The Jordan versus LeBron GOAT debate. Now, this is something I'm invested in right here.
Ranking NBA players is useless, but it's also really fun. Every NBA fan at some point has created their own ranking. It's like our official pastime at this point. And with the game as data-driven and awards and accomplishments as absolute as the NBA has, you'd think ranking players would be a fairly simple task. But despite the countless efforts to make a flawless, coherent all-time ranking of NBA players, no one can seem to get it quite right. Some players rank too high, others too low, some not even ranked at all. Make any of these mistakes and your ranking will immediately get dismissed. The latest attempt of this fleeting endeavor came last week from Bleacher Report when they released their top 100 NBA players ever list. A ranking that seemed relatively good, but was met with an onslaught of criticism. Like everyone else that made an attempt before them, this list...
Wait, where do they have D-Wade?
With an onslaught of criticism. Like everyone else that made...
So it was ranked higher than Giannis? That seems kind of insane, to be honest. D-Wade or Giannis? I mean, all time? This is last year? Giannis is somebody who's generally like underrated, I would say, by fans and stuff. Like when people talk about who are the best players in the NBA, people will say Jokic, people will say Luka, SGA, these types of people, and people like forget about Giannis, even though he's definitely a top 5 player in the league. He's probably a top 3 player in the league, realistically. But people do underrate Giannis because, I mean, team playoff success has just not been there, but can't win in these recent times. And when we played against the Heat 2 years ago, he was injured for 2 of the games in that series. That was the time where they should have been going forward. Obviously, Dame got hurt this year. Giannis is somebody who you just have to respect. He's just one of those players that people, I think they just don't like his play style. They just feel like his body is OP. So they're like, oh man, he just runs and dunks. That's what James Harden said. Oh man, he just run across the floor and dunk. I get it, but he's effective, bro. This guy is putting up numbers. He's insane. Bro, I would love to have Giannis on my team.
In attempts before them, this list was not accurate. Not good enough. Why is it so difficult to make an all-time ranking?
Giannis has insane defense, of course. One of the most athletic players in the league. At his size, he's the most athletic.
All agree on. I mean, we all have our own opinion, our own personal bias. Is it even possible to make such a list? And if we could, how would we even create it? Well, believe it or not, there is a method that we can use to rank every player in NBA history with shockingly good accuracy.
Just ask me. I'm always right.
It doesn't use any numbers or data, no formulas or advanced metrics.
Pure vibes.
It is a method way simpler than you would ever think, and yet manages to get results with nearly 100% accuracy.
You see
Even
Steph
crazier.
at 97? No, you didn't see Steph at 97. Steph is like, most people have Steph like around 8 to 12 in their lists. I think he's like one of the best ever. I mean, there's people that everyone puts in their lists because you kind of have to put them in your list, like Wilt. Like if you're doing top 10 of all time, people put like Wilt and Bill Russell. I can respect those guys, but I just don't put them in my list because like I can't even find footage of them playing, and then it's like so far removed from what we're doing right now with basketball. I mean, there's not even a fucking 3-point line in that game. It's like a different game, so it's very hard for me to rate those players. So like if I'm doing my top 10, I have like I'm a Jordan guy. I'll explain it throughout this video, but just know I'm a Jordan guy. Jordan, LeBron, Kareem, and then after that, I'm kind of like Magic, Bird tier. Then you have to throw Tim Duncan in there. Shaq. Oh, Shaq is probably above Tim Duncan. Yeah, Shaq is above Tim Duncan for me. Probably above Bird as well. Like Shaq is a fucking beast. He's probably top 5 for me. So that's already 7 names right there. And then who else? Steph is in there for me. I'd have to like think about I would have to have all the names in front of me just so I don't forget people. But yeah, like it would be something like this. Hakeem is probably towards the end of mine. He'd be maybe 10. Kobe would probably be like, Kobe is like somewhere like 8 through 12, I think is reasonable. I mean, the problem with Kobe is his efficiency is not that high, but he was somebody who's like mentality, like he was just a winner through and through. So like he would probably be somewhere 7, 8, 9, but I think it's hard to go higher than that for Kobe.
We actually use this method.
Durant is not top 10 for me.
All the time.
Kobe is over Shaq? Not to me. No, I don't think Kobe is over Shaq. I mean, Shaq is just unfair. Shaq was just unfair, bro. That was when I was watching so much basketball. When I was a kid, I hated watching Shaq. It felt like he just ruined the game. It looked so overpowered and unskilled. Like this guy was just too fucking dominant. Like everyone just says, oh, he's the most dominant player, but the degree of his dominance, like you just had to have people on your lineup, on your roster, just to foul him and hope he misses free throws. And if he was hitting the free throws on the night, insta lose. Insta lose if he's hitting his free throws on the night. It was insane to watch this guy fucking play.
Today's video is sponsored by SeatGeek. Whether you're looking
Giannis
for
is almost as unfair as Shaq. No, I mean, no, it's not really the same thing. It's really not the same thing. I mean, the rules were obviously different as well, so you have to factor that in. But no, it doesn't feel as OP watching Giannis. I mean, Giannis is athletic in a different way, where Shaq would just put his fucking back to the basket and just back you down. He would just start banging the guy, you know? He'd bang the guy like Charles Barkley said. And when Shaq was banging you, there was nothing you could do, bro. You just had to take it.
Tickets or the best seats at the game, SeatGeek has it all. The #1 rated ticketing app with over 28 million downloads.
I use
on
that
SeatGeek,
shit.
there are more than 70,000 listed events, from sports to concerts to festivals and more. For years now, I've been exclusively using SeatGeek to find the best tickets for everything, including my Blazers, where I can browse seating, search for tickets, and get the best deals. And with every ticket backed by their buyer guarantee, once I buy my ticket, I know I'm good to go. And right now, you can get 10% off any tickets by downloading the SeatGeek app and using the promo code Jimmy10. Just click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account to use at any time.
I went to a couple baseball games when I was in DC like a month and a half ago. The only thing that I don't like about the SeatGeek app is that you have to download the app. Like, you can't just buy the tickets and like get them sent to your email. You have to use the app. But I got the app. It's pretty easy to use.
That's
not a bad product.
Promo code Jimmy10 for 10% off any tickets, only on SeatGeek. Last week, Bleacher Report released their top 100 NBA players ever list. And to absolutely no one's surprise,
I saw the Jokic Horse
people
video.
were not happy about it. Among some of the more glaring complaints about Bleacher Report's list include Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the now MVP, Finals MVP, and champion, not even making the list. Jason Tatum landing at 93.
Who the f is David? Did I say that name right? David Bing? Am I supposed to know that guy?
Stockton ranked ahead of players like Chris Paul and Kawhi Leonard,
David
and of course
Bing?
Kobe Bryant, falling outside of the top 10. Despite polling their staff of NBA experts, writers, and editors, the results of this
No clue who David Bing is. Not gonna even pretend.
comprehensive ranking only left people confused and annoyed. Ranking players should not be this difficult, and yet it is. But to understand why it's so difficult,
of course I
we
watch
first need
this
to
guy.
understand why every ranking,
I'm
no
not
matter
super big into like the YouTube basketball videos like this, but this is by far my favorite guy who does these types of videos. I love watching his videos. I probably watch close to 100 of his videos.
how thought out it is, how logical the criteria is, how much data was used, always falls
Give me
short.
high roller, yep.
One popular approach that some fans and experts have taken over the years is the formula method. Create a point-based system and apply those points to various factors like career stats, accolades, and impact to make an objectively accurate ranking. A method that has been tested
I hate that type of stuff, to be honest.
countless times.
I mean,
with
I'm a combination of stats and eye test type of guy. I feel like that's the only way to do it.
varying levels of success. Last year, John Hollinger, longtime NBA analyst and a man credited with creating some of the first advanced NBA statistics, created a formula to determine his all-time top 100 list. His criteria being a point-based system that put varying levels of weight into factors like MVP shares, finals MVPs, win shares, and career box plus minus. A formula that resulted in LeBron as the GOAT, Jordan second, Kareem third, Duncan
I mean, the
fourth,
problem when you do these like stat-based things is you're kind of just removing all the context, right? Like a finals MVP, like a finals performance can be significantly different than another one based on who you're playing against. Like LeBron's finals performance in was it 2015 or 2016? Whatever, the one versus the Warriors, it was 2015, right? Or was it this 2015 season going into 2016? I think it was 2016 actually, right? The 2016 finals is just like a legendary LeBron performance, and you can't quantify that with stats.
and Karl Malone fifth.
So you have to like actually be thinking about when they were playing, who they were playing against, what their teams look like. You have to factor in all this stuff. I feel like doing these just stat rankings are worthless.
all time. This list also features Harden at 13, Hakeem at 19, Steph all the way down at 27, and Isaiah Thomas at 65. This Reddit user went through the trouble of creating an entire model from scratch to achieve the goal of, as he put it, quantifying careers using a formula that combines accolades with simple advanced stats while compensating for era and benchmarking, plus adjusting the weights of the formula against approximate expected rankings using least squared
Leading
regression.
everyone in statistics not a stat. Yeah, no, it is. It's something that you consider, but you also have to think about like this was doing things like finals MVPs, right? Whereas if you're like, there's a big series or like somebody gets hurt, you know, whatever, a star player gets hurt and you get an easy run to the finals and you get a free finals MVP, rating it as the same as, you know, LeBron's finals MVP when he was like hard carrying, that's a different thing. And then also, I'm not the type of guy that cares as much I care way more about peak than longevity when it comes to GOAT debates ever. You know, I think that longevity becomes a factor when two people have similar peaks, and that's how you kind of analyze it when you're doing these like GOAT lists. That's how I see it.
In other words,
I mean, obviously it's just like opinion, but that's just the way that I think it makes the most sense.
he used a whole lot of stats
You can't outlast a good peak.
made some applicable
Like a
adjustments,
top tier peak.
and put together an all-time top 100 ranking. The results came in, and people hated it. The glaring flaw in this method, as well as every other method that attempts to be completely objective in its approach, is that it's not objective. Even concrete things like stats and awards will inevitably have some sort of weight or value attached to them based partially off of opinion. What is a
You
championship
think
worth,
Jokic will finish top 10? Absolutely.
and how do you factor it in? Should there be an air tax on players who played half a century ago? If there
I mean,
is,
you can argue that Jokic is already a top 10 player of all time. Like, he's by far the best player in the NBA. But then also there's like things where you're looking at these MVPs. It's like Jokic should have just won the MVP this year. He's just somebody who didn't get an MVP because of voter fatigue and stuff like that. And because people care, people are really obsessed with your team record in the MVP race in the NBA. Like, overly obsessed, in my opinion, with team record in MVP conversations in the NBA. But to me, like, Jokic should just have 4 MVPs.
when does it no longer apply? The 80s? 90s? Is peak more important than longevity? Or
Yes.
is it the other way around? Even
No.
awards themselves, like MVPs and DPOYs, are voted on by people with their own personal bias. Creating some sort of formula involves attributing value to all of these things, but without any impartial method of weighing all of these factors without injecting some sort of personal bias, the pursuit of creating a perfectly accurate ranking becomes virtually impossible. So, what if we just remove the personal bias? What if we strictly use data and numbers, 2 important factors
So
that
boring,
have no
though.
bias, to make a completely accurate and nonpartisan all-time ranking? Well, because the rankings get really weird, really
But like,
fast.
how can you even do this with rule changes, you know? Because they're not all playing the same game as what they were playing before. The NBA actually does have patches. They got patches, they got new rules and stuff like that. So how could this possibly rate players over time? Like, you have to just use subjective bias in order to come up with a list. And it doesn't have to be objective. I mean, it can never be objectively true anyway, so who cares? Just make your own list, bro.
For example, Box Plus Minus has Nikola Jokic as far and away the best player of all time. It also has Luka Doncic 4th, David Robinson 6th, and Tim Duncan 19th. But in the right hands and with enough data, and when used in conjunction
Embiid
with one
unguardable
another,
and healthy. Embiid is underrated right now by fans. People just like hate the fact that he doesn't play, but he's somebody who's definitely underrated by general fans right now, like NBA discussions.
a purely data-driven approach could lead us in the right direction. And this is what Ben Taylor of Thinking Basketball did back in 2017 when he created his top 40 list. As Ben says when describing his methodology, "I won't attempt to balance Kobe's championships with Shaq, nor do I care about accolades like all-star teams or the number of Hall of Fame teammates someone played with. I also don't care about how many rings a player won. The very thing I'm trying to tease out is who provided the most lift." Instead of trying to assign value to things like rings and MVPs, Ben's list ranks players based on who provided the largest increase in the odds of a team winning a championship over the course of their career. Ben's specific method and reasoning is probably the best out there when it comes to seeking an objective ranking, using the best advanced metrics available and using them logically to find the most accurate conclusion. The results of this experiment were eventually updated in 2022 and are generally accepted as a really solid list without the outliers
Kareem over Jordan. Nah, you're just trying to be. If you don't have LeBron and Michael Jordan as your top 2, I feel like you're just trying to be edgy at that point.
or massive holes that other lists have. The only problem is, this is not an all-time player ranking. As Ben stated, this list is a player evaluation, not necessarily a ranking of the greatest players of all time. And it's evaluating how good these players were, their abilities and their effectiveness in using those abilities, not how great they were
Draft, okay.
or what they accomplished. A great exercise in determining which players had the largest impact on the court, but not the best method in determining how that impact actually translated to tangible success. For example, this method is providing evidence that Karl Malone had a larger statistical impact than Stephen Curry over the course of his career, but I'm not sure if there's a single human being on planet Earth that would argue Karl Malone is greater than Steph is. Using purely statistics and data to rank players removes valuable context that certainly matters when evaluating how great they were throughout their career. However, allowing awards and achievements to partially dictate rankings will inherently skew the results due to personal bias and variance of opinion. So looking at it through either of these lenses will lead you to inaccurate results. But maybe we're looking at this through the wrong lens altogether. We as fans are going to be biased. It's the very nature of being a fan. My team's great and they can do no wrong. So if we need to factor everything in, but we cannot do that without inserting some sort of bias, what if instead of trying to remove all bias from the equation, we factor this bias into the equation by asking fans what it is they value most when ranking players? If the accuracy of the rankings is determined by the fans, then so should the criteria. Well, that's exactly what this Reddit user did. Back in 2020, an NBA fan on Reddit took it upon himself to survey other NBA fans, 662 of them to be exact, on not just what's important to them in terms of greatness, but even what kind of fan they are. Among some of the questions asked were, how long have you been watching the NBA for? The most popular answer was 6 to 9 years. On a scale of 1 to 10, how big of a fan of the NBA are you? Over 80% of the results being at least an 8 out of 10. But here's where things get interesting. One of the questions asked was, what do you think is more important in a player's career? Team success or individual success? 52% of voters said team success and 48% said individual success. Almost an even 50-50 split between NBA fans in response to a very important question with two very different answers. Even more revealing, voters were asked what are the top 3 most important measures when evaluating who the greatest of all time is. The number 1 answer, career stats, followed by number of championships.
I really disagree that the number one thing is going to be career stats. I mean, I guess based off all these, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the things that I care about is like how much impact they have as a player. I think that that's what I'm judging everything on. Like, I'm just trying to think about who is the best player as opposed to like who has the most career stats. Like career stats, I don't even really look at it. Like, let me see, career stats. Like Kobe is up there, top career points. Yeah, I mean, there's players that just stuck around a while that I don't know if I would have them there. Like Tony Parker has a ton of career stats.
Number of regular season MVPs, total win shares, and career advanced statistics. The near 50-50 split between the importance of team success versus individual success visible in the almost even voting split between career stats and number of championships. One person can make their rankings based on how good a player was, meanwhile another person could make their rankings based on how much success a player had. Two completely different criterias. So how exactly can we make a player ranking that is agreed upon if we can't even agree on what actually matters, or at least what matters most? No matter what approach you take, no matter how much personal bias or opinion you try to take out of it, the results will always end up skewed in some sort of direction. There's just too many factors, difference in opinion, difference in what matters most from fan to fan. But there is one way, one method that has been proven to be the best way to get to an accurate conclusion about things otherwise not agreed upon. What is this scientifically backed method? It's the exact one Bleacher Report used. Ask people, have you ever seen the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Let's play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire right now.
It was a game show where contestants would answer a series of multiple choice questions, with each correct answer winning them more money and progressively getting more difficult until the eventual $1 million question. Now, this game show would feature one sole contestant at a time who had to answer these questions by themselves. However, each contestant was granted what were called lifelines, tools the contestant could use to help them answer difficult questions. These 3 lifelines were 50-50, eliminate 2 of the 4 options in a multiple choice question, leaving the contestant with a 50% chance of getting the right answer.
I love this show.
Phone a friend, where the contestant could call a friend live on the show for help. And the third one was Ask the Audience, where each member of the audience would vote on what they thought was the correct answer to any given question.
70%.
All of these lifelines were valuable, but one of them in particular resulted in the correct answer far more than the others. The 50-50 lifeline, as the name suggests, got contestants to the correct answer about 50% of the time. Phoning a friend resulted in contestants getting the correct answer 66% of the time. But asking the audience resulted in the correct answer 92% of the time. By far, the most accurate method of coming to the correct answer for any question in the show's history. And this is a demonstration of a concept known as the wisdom of the crowd, an idea that refers to the collective judgment of a group of people often being more accurate than the judgment of any single individual, even an expert. And it is an incredibly accurate method of arriving on the correct answer to any logical question. In 2011, the BBC network put this concept to the test by filling a jar with jelly beans and asking 160 contestants how many jelly beans they thought were in the jar. The answers were absolutely insane, ranging from 500 to 50,000. And yet somehow
how many would be in that jar? I would guess like 1.5K.
Collective average was unbelievably close to the actual number. After conducting their experiment, it was revealed that there were exactly 4,510 jelly beans in the jar.
I didn't get a great look at it, but I thought there would be less than that.
All 160 participants, 4,515.
No way. That's crazy.
Despite their variance in answers, on average, the participants were able to get within 99.9% of the correct answer. By aggregating the opinions or estimates of many individuals,
oh wait, it's actually fucking big, to be honest.
Errors and biases of individual judgment tend to cancel each other out, leading to a collective result that is closer to the truth. And in possibly the most roundabout way I could conjure up, I think this same exact concept can be applied to ranking NBA players on an all-time list.
Nice.
Regardless of what the individuals value most and our own personal bias, if you ask enough people, chances are you'll more than likely end up at an accurate result. Better than strictly using stat-based metrics, better than the eye test or a combination of multiple factors. Simply asking people who the greatest players of all time are will show you exactly who the greatest players of all time are. And evidence of this can be found within the results of Bleacher Report's ranking. Someone ranked Kobe Bryant 18th all time. Their personal top 100 ranking is probably a little wacky, but this vote inadvertently balances out someone else who voted Kobe 4th all time. Same goes for every single player on this list. Someone had Jokic 12th all time, another voter had him 28th, and everyone else had him somewhere in between. The range of votes for Charles Barkley are probably the largest of any player on this list, with one vote for him as the 18th greatest.
Bro, somebody that has Charles Barkley almost out of the top 75, this guy should be banned. Just ban him. Charles Barkley at 74. Like, that is fucking crazy. That is absolutely insane.
Player, and another with him as the 74th.
Like, I don't know, like, I would have to sit there and write a whole fucking list down. But for me, it's like, I can't see him being any higher than 30. Like, any higher than 30,
player.
Really.
With individual rankings like this, you'd think the final result would be a mess. And yet, Barkley ended up being ranked 25th all time, right about where he should be.
Yeah.
Can we make
That's
a
fair.
completely accurate ranking of the greatest NBA players ever? Well, we can get really close. In terms of how we would create it and what it would look like, you're looking at it. This isn't a matter of opinion, it is a statistical principle. As Bleacher Report put it when describing their methodology, it's an impossible task, especially when confronted with the reality of comparing players from different eras. Stats help, but calculators won't ever figure all of this out. But asking enough people just might.
Ask for your opinion. Okay, my take. Let's go for my take. My take is that I think Michael Jordan's the best of all time. Obviously, I am biased because in my formative years when I was young and I started watching basketball, like for people that don't know, I'm fucking old, right? I'm about to be 35. So I was born in 1990. When I started learning about basketball was when I was 4 years old, and I learned how to read by reading the sports pages to my dad. Like, my dad pretended that he couldn't read the sports pages and told me to read him the sports pages. And that's how I like learned how to read, because my dad was huge into sports. So I was like watching so many sports. I was watching sports every single night when I was like 5, 6, 7, 8, and just being like a 5-year-old, 6-year-old kid in the 90s, seeing Michael Jordan just consistently win, and then just like going outside and doing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you shoot, you try to make it in, you try to pretend to be Michael Jordan. It is just too impactful. Like, it'll make me way too biased as a person, right? It'll make me way too biased. So Michael Jordan, to me, just had such a big impact. It just felt like he just got it done when it mattered. And there was just that feeling that you had watching him play. You just knew he was going to win. But when I even look into like the stats and stuff, obviously all the counting stats all time, LeBron is just going to beat him because he's played for longer. LeBron's played since he was 18 years old. Michael Jordan played after college, right? So there's a difference there. And then also LeBron is now about 175 years old and he's still playing. So LeBron is leading in all the counting stats. I think the things that need to be talked about in the situation are Michael Jordan's defense. I think the defense is a thing where he was like an elite, top tier elite defender consistently for a long period of time, where it feels like LeBron can be an elite defender or could be an elite defender. And he had a lot of like clutch, big chase down blocks and things like that. But it didn't feel like he put in the defensive effort that Michael Jordan did. When it comes to that, when it comes to like playoff performance, like I care more about like average points per game in playoffs, things like that. We can pull it up right here. Average playoffs, PPG. Yeah, in the playoffs, Michael Jordan averaged 33.5 points, which is fucking crazy. Like this was also in an era where people scored less. Now, when it comes to like other things, 3-point shooting, definitely LeBron, but I don't consider LeBron like a super good 3-point shooter. It's kind of just a product of the times. Whereas like people that were elite shooters in the early days, like for example, let's see, Larry Bird 3-point percentage. Like Larry Bird's 3-point percentage is like 37.6, which is decent, but on not many threes shot a game. But he is the guy that like existed in an era where that was considered mega elite. That was like Steph Curry, like insane range. Let's see what Steph's 3-point percentage is. And Steph shoots way more threes than Larry did. And Steph, he shoots about 43% from three. So, but that's obviously with the context of less people were probably, I mean, I would assume, I would have to check this, but generally the way it works is that because the 3-point shot was considered a less desirable shot in the 80s, like people thought it was kind of a gimmick shot. People were not guarding the 3-point line the same way that like Steph Curry is being guarded at the 3-point line. So Steph Curry is certainly significantly more accurate when it comes to 3-point shooting. But anyways, point is, like, I've always just had Jordan as the GOAT. But I can understand the LeBron argument. It's just not the things that I personally value. And also, I'm a Miami Heat fan, and that motherfucker LeBron completely ruined 2011 for us. Like, how the was that shit not a title? Like, he completely choked that shit, and I'll hold it against him forever. So that guy. Anyways, that's gonna be it. Thank you guys for watching.